that don't look right.
Right, it doesn't. So Dylan Hernandez, the LA Times, columnist of the LA Times, does a fine job. Joins us here on Keyshawn, George, and LZ. All right, so when is the proper time to panic in a 162-game season? Like, when should you be concerned about the Dodgers' play?
I would settle for some good signs, say, by the end of this month. If it just kind of just keeps looking the way it's looked, by the end of this month, I'd probably start getting a little concerned. Even then, like 1 month into the season, you can still there's still time to turn this thing around, and one thing we've seen about this Dodger team, actually, though, if you kind of look historically, even in recent years, is this isn't a team that starts very well. Last year, I think they were under 500 for most of the month of April. I believe the year before that, they were even under 500, at the end of April. And this is one of those teams that a lot of times will just kind of catch fire and, win 10, 15 games in a row. So, it's kind of hard to tell, I guess. I'm already kind of taking some good signs out of the fact that we're seeing, Chris Taylor has started to hit, right? He got a few home runs last week. Matt Kemp has started to hit. And kind of the next guy that you're looking at is Corey Seager. I mean, if Corey Seager is still batting 200 at the end of April, then I think you have to kind of start wondering, okay, is something physically wrong with him, because he's such a key part of the team. Does this mean that the offense isn't going to look the way we thought it was going to look? But at this point, to me, honestly, I still, I wrote last week, hey guys, don't worry, this is still going to be fine. And, a week later, I kind of still feel that way.
So you're saying give it to the end of April?
Yeah, it's a really, really long season. You have to kind of keep in mind too. I mean, we've seen this team go on, right? What was it? Was this? They went on like a 42-8 stretch at one point. I mean, baseball is really kind of about feel and momentum, and you can kind of see things just kind of radically change overnight. And I mean, I don't know. I look at the competition, and the division's not particularly strong, if we're going to be honest, right? The Diamondbacks, it looks like Taijuan Walker's got like some kind of arm thing. So already they're down a starting pitcher. If I'm them, I'm really kind of concerned about that because, they really don't have the kind of organizational depth that the Dodgers do where they can just kind of go to the next guy and just plug him right in. I mean, I think that that's going to be a pretty major problem for them, and so, I look at kind of the rest of the division. I really, think like a month, even is totally reasonable, for this team, just because, again, you look kind of historically, you look at the rest of the division, you look how talented they are. I think in 5 months they can close most gaps.
Is this us repeating what the Chicago Cubs went through after they won their World Series? That there's some sort of hangover over the following season that just makes it difficult to recapture that mojo?
I think that's the concern, right? I mean, I think that, it's really kind of hard to tell because you kind of go into the clubhouse, and I really think that it actually helps that Matt Kemp is around, because Kemp wasn't a part of that. And, and if you guys have been around Matt Kemp before, you'll know, like, he's just kind of one of these very kind of happy, good energy type of guys. And, so when you go in the clubhouse these days, you usually see Kemp and Kenley Jansen in a corner and they're cracking jokes and stuff. And, the air in the room feels very good, so, at this point, I think it's kind of hard to tell. I mean, now I think that that's entirely possible. Last year was just kind of this really long year, and they were kind of also kind of fighting the tides of history, right? I mean, it was almost a 30-year absence between their last World Series appearance and when they finally got there. It felt like they kind of reached this big mountaintop. I wouldn't be surprised if that was kind of the case. At the same time, if you kind of look at the guys on the team. Clayton Kershaw doesn't, he's obviously, he's fine. And I kind of do think too that the team kind of has a way of following Kershaw where, Kershaw kind of dictates kind of the mindset and the attitude of the team by virtue of being the leader of that team. And, I can't imagine that happening with him. So I would lean no, but yeah, I mean, I think it's entirely possible.
Dylan Hernandez with us here, LA Times columnist. We'll talk some Dodgers with him here on Keyshawn, George, and LZ. So with Turner's absence, it really feels like they're feeling it not just on the defensive end, which, look, he's an above-average defender, but that three-hole in the lineup is completely in flux. What do you suggest they do? Is there something that they can do? Can they bring someone up from the minors, maybe Verdugo in the outfield, that maybe can shore up something for them in the lineup to kind of help counterbalance his absence?
I've always kind of thought that the best hitter on the team is Corey Seager. I know Turner is obviously a very good hitter. Seager adds an element of power that Turner doesn't have, maybe. And he's just not hitting right now. He's hitting 200. He has one home run. That home run that he hit, it was his first extra base hit of the season. So I don't know. At this point, I think you're just kind of waiting for Corey Seager to hit. And I just assume it's going to have to happen because he's too good of a player not to hit. Now, obviously we've heard about his elbow. Last year he had some back issues. If there's some health issues there, now this turns into a completely different thing, And Seager was really the reason that I thought, when Turner went down, my thinking was, okay, this is going to be fine. They're going to be able to withstand this because, in Seager they have a legitimate top 5, top 10 player in baseball. If he's not hitting, Verdugo's an option, obviously. Andrew Coles, unfortunately, he was hitting the cover off the ball in AAA. He just got a hamstring injury. So, probably, Verdugo might be the next guy down the line. But I really think it's going to have to come down to, the guys that they counted on hitting early in the season, to actually hit. And, Corey Seager is definitely at the top of that list.
What happens at third base now? I know Kiki Hernandez will take that spot, but it will be a revolving door, and who's behind him?
Yeah, that's becoming that's kind of a problem now, I think. I mean, where you talk about Turner's absence. I mean, defensively, he's a very, very good third baseman. Kike yesterday, I mean, it was kind of a weird hit ball. I think you got charged with an error there in the first inning. Defensively, I'm not really too sure what you do there. I guess Utley's technically an option there. But yeah, I'm expecting Kike Hernandez to get a bulk of the playing time at that position.
Switching gears briefly here, Ohtani, the Japanese version of Babe Ruth, is scheduled to pitch tomorrow against the Bo Sox. You've had a chance to see him up close. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think he's just, one thing that kind of gets underplayed, I think, a little bit is just his just sheer athleticism and just how, and it's probably kind of right because it contradicts our image, I'm guessing, of Japanese athletes. But this guy is a monster. He's 6'4". When I saw him in Japan last year, some scouts that I talked to over there told me that they clocked him from, home to first base in 3.8 seconds, which puts him, that makes him a top 5, top 10 guy speed-wise in baseball. This guy can run. If you watch him take batting practice, just kind of the ease with which he swings the bat and can still make the ball fly. The fact that when he's on the mound, it's like a very effortless 98, 99. And that to me is what really kind of stands out is just his, and if we're going to be honest, right, I mean, baseball right now is not getting a ton of the high-end athletes right now. Our best athletes are in the NBA. They're in the NFL. Baseball, I think, hasn't been getting these types of athletes. And Ohtani, you're getting one, and not only is he a great athlete, but, he seems to have very good work habits. It seems like his life really does kind of revolve around baseball. And it's just kind of hard to imagine a player that talented just not succeeding, and even in spring training when he wasn't doing well. I mean, I didn't think he was going to be this good this quickly, but I did think, okay, this is going to have to work out just because I haven't seen the tool set on many American baseball players.
With Ohtani, I'll ask you another timeline question because we've had the discussion here. How long does he have to go where we don't look at it as, all right, this is just an outlier, like he is this guy?
Man, baseball is tough, right? I mean, things change from season to season.
Right.
Right. I mean, I think that if we're going to be honest right now, right, like Corey Bellinger, who, set the home run record last year for NL rookies. We're looking at him right now thinking, okay, is this real or not? It's going to probably be a couple years at least,
Okay.
and I think it's going to be this evolving thing too, where, are we going to, what are the Angels going to do with him as far as, are they fine keeping him on this type of schedule? If he develops into a really great hitter, do they want him to maybe pitch less so to keep his bat in the lineup more? I was speaking to some of the Japanese reporters that were telling me, that have covered Ohtani for a long time, and they were telling me actually that had he stayed in Japan, he would have pitched less, for exactly that reason, because they wanted to keep his bat in the lineup. In Japan, they actually think he's a better hitter than he is a pitcher. So, that whole thing's going to be kind of interesting. And already, it seems like they've kept him. So the Angels have so far kept him on the schedule that he was in Japan, where he pitched on Sunday and just kind of went around that. And already now they've had to make this adjustment because of the snow out, where by now he's already moved to Tuesday. And it's going to be interesting, I think, kind of going forward from here, how the Angels are going to kind of, manipulate the schedule and change the schedule according to their needs. Because, if we're telling the truth right now, I mean, if he goes another few weeks like this, I mean, I think he's a natural to bat third in that lineup. You got Trout batting second, Upton third. I mean, you stick the lefty in there to split up the righties. I think it makes sense. Yet, what do you do now? I mean, does this mean that you're going to go out, without your number 3 hitter for 3 days in a row? Those are questions Mike Scioscia and Billy Epler are going to have to kind of answer in the coming weeks. And I think it's going to be kind of interesting how the Angels go about this.
Dylan Hernandez, columnist for the LA Times. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Dylan Hernandez. Dylan, thanks, man. Always appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
No, thank you so much.
You got it. Take care.
The Angels have scored twice as many runs as the Dodgers.
You know that they play in Anaheim and not L.A.?
They're called the Los Angeles Angels.
Of Anaheim. No, not anymore. Not anymore. They did have that for a minute, though. Every time we talk about the boys in blue, it's brought to you by Sprint. The Sprint network is faster and more reliable with better coverage than ever. Visit